And we are live. Right now, it's just me, Mojo Blues, here on the Best Damn Xbox podcast. Gaming Werewolf's going to be a few minutes late. I could have probably waited and probably definitely should have waited, but I'd already sent out a text saying it was going to start at 7:30, so whatever.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. All right, cool, good. I was thinking, am I going to be able to eat 15 minutes of time for myself? Which I actually could, but it's better with somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
The whole reason I do it is to just talk to somebody else about gaming. It just happens to be over YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't done a show in a few weeks because one reason or another. Last week was my internet failure. I still don't know why that was. My son went on his computer and had to redo something to connect with our router. I don't quite understand because the router's all on its own. The cable comes in to the living room and it runs right straight to a modem, and then from the modem a wire over to the router for the wireless, and then he runs a hard wire back to his room and his computer, and then I actually run a couple of wires hardwired directly out of it to my Xbox and then to my Surface Pro. So there's wires just running across our living room into the little dining area, which is where I have my little gaming hub set up. It's a pretty cool setup, but I don't have a wife right now or even a girlfriend, so I can get away with just having wires running across the apartment floor. It's pretty cool. Although I'd prefer a girlfriend or a wife, but until then, I'll accept just having 40 feet of internet cable just running across the floor.
Well, I'll be honest, I actually wired up my house for wired internet, and I ran it across the walls, and it turned out pretty good. I mean, all things considered, without too much fuss and fuss. I can close doors, so I'm good there. I got one of those flat cables, so.
Yeah, I've had stuff like that in the past, but I just rent now, so I'm afraid to buy a place. I just don't know if this is where I want to live forever. And it's one of those things. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up buying a house here, and maybe I won't. I don't know. Well, like I said, I just hadn't wanted to pull that trigger. I'm lucky. I've got money put away for that in a 401k account from many years of working at Pepsi. I did real good as far as saving money through the 401k dealio. So I'm sitting on a nice chunk of change to purchase a house. I guess if I did it now, I'd have to pay the IRS a bunch of money out of that I'd rather not. So I'll probably just keep renting, and then when I'm old enough, then I can pull that money out without any kind of tax penalty. And until then, I have plenty of monthly money because I'm retired from the Air Force, and for now anyway, my son's living with me, so that helps.
Yeah, that's good. That's definitely good. Sounds like you're in a good position. Yeah, the tax penalty for 401k withdrawals, early withdrawals, is ridiculous. It's like 10% on top of another, state. I don't know if you do state tax. Do they do state tax where you are?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then you have the federal on top of the penalty, so it's state tax here too, which is you just get taxed so many times. It's not worth it. Just wait.
Yeah, and again, it's more than just that. I don't know. This is where I want to. I'm kind of just waiting to see how my health goes, because if I end up dying in the next, little bit of time, it's I don't want to buy a house. My sons would just have to get rid of it, and then they would have to pay more tax on top of it. So better off if they just inherit the 401k and they can split the money.
Yeah. Well, happier news anyway. So what have you been doing gaming-wise the last couple weeks?
Not a lot, to be honest. I played the Medium.
How is it? How do you like it?
I like it a lot. It's very Resident Evil 1 and 2. Not the modern remakes, but the originals, They did that on purpose. They went with tank controls. And everybody says that, but I actually have various versions of Resident Evil 1 right on an original PS1 to have it many other ways it can be played. And trust me, those tank controls are much more tank-like than what's in the medium. But it's what it is. It's a very slow-moving game, and they do that. That's how they help build up tension in it. But it plays pretty good, looks pretty good. And when I say plays pretty good, is the fact that it does play super slow. And they did it on purpose again to build tension. And I wouldn't even call it a straight-up horror game. It's more of a walking sim with a lot of tension. They build up tension, and but yeah, it's pretty cool. And then when it goes to that split screen mode, is really really awesome. They're a dev to look out for in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like their third or fourth horror game. We did what, Layers of Fear.
I think they did that one. Yeah,
they did that, and then they did the what's the one it's based off the movie Blair Witch.
Okay.
And I didn't. The Blair Witch game, it was okay. I wouldn't.
I can't say
Medium is a huge step up, but I thought Blair Witch was a huge step down from Layers of Fear. So, but the thing is, that's what 1, 2. This would be 3, and I think they did one other game. That was like 4 games within this generation. And most of the companies are lucky to even get out one game.
Oh yeah.
So I give any company that can come out with 4 games during this generation more power to them. It's like God bless them, because where's that? Nobody is doing that. I mean, you get one game at best, and then.
Well, I mean, minimum it's 2 years turnaround from the conception to and that's considered low end. I mean, I'm not even going to bring in Cyberpunk, but some really AAA games take up to 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, you're right. I mean, that's one. That's
I
one,
think
maybe
sometimes
2.
people don't understand. Though they say, "Oh, it took 5 years." Well, no. Once they actually started the actual nuts and bolts of the programming, it's usually only a couple of years. But the conceptualization and all that,
right?
Games sit in those stages sometimes for years until somebody actually takes out a bond or puts up enough money that it's like a movie. It's greenlit. Right. They don't say that in the gaming industry, but it's basically the same thing. Once somebody funds, here's a better way of saying it. Once a project's funded, then from that point on, it's usually much quicker. It's 2 to 3 years, depending on the level of the game. But that same game might have had 2 years. Well, they were taking it around trying to get somebody to give them money, and they'd say or even a sequel. Sometimes there's like a couple years that are just wasted there. They might do an update to the previous game and this or that, but they're not hard at work on that sequel like everybody thinks they are.
Right.
It doesn't start until it's funded, and that's usually, it can be a long time. And people kind of, this game was in development for 5 years. Well, no, 2 of the years they were securing funding and all that, and then 3 years they were actually building the game and getting it out the door.
It's just crazy how much they cost today. I mean, they're Hollywood. They're getting to the point where not only are they matching Hollywood movies, some of them are surpassing it.
Well, we've talked about it before. They took that whole Hollywood mantra of they got to get that money that within a week, a weekend in a week, and if they don't sell enough copies during that little time stretch, games of failure, flop. Where it used to be, man, they wouldn't hit green till 3 years later. It was that's just sometimes they would already have a sequel out before the first game actually hit green, and they were like making money off of it. And they just knew that, so they had games planned out so that a certain game would get released, and it would they'd be sequels to whatever game, but then they'd be making other types of games. Companies like say here's a perfect example in their heyday. Both Capcom and Konami,
Yeah.
4 or 5 games a year, with a varying quality and size. And some would be sequels to popular franchises, and others would be new ones. And they didn't always put them out on every console. They individual deals and got games out on lots of different consoles and things. But a lot of times they would farm out work for whatever console they put the original game on. They might let another company do the port, and that was all standard practices. But what I'm trying to get at is they had a steady flow of games for income, but some of those games didn't start showing them money for long periods of time. And now it's kind of like the movie industry. They got to make that money back ASAP. Somebody, what I was just talking about, funded. Once that game's funded, somebody put up some serious cash for it. Somebody's been paying salaries. Somebody's been keeping the lights turned on in buildings and things, and they want that money back. And they're not willing to wait 3 years like they used to, how it used to work. They want it back immediately. It's really weird. Now, Microsoft doing the whole Game Pass thing. Hey, here's some money while you're building and making this game, and you're going to throw it in Game Pass. But that's a little bit different, and I really like that for smaller games. I think that's great. But bigger games, yeah, even that I can see that being a little bit problematic at times.
Right. Well, I think that's also why we're not seeing so many games in the launch period like we used to for either system. That's just.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's got anything to do with it being the new systems or being within the launch.
No.
I just think
it's just the
nature of the beast. The way games are made, it takes so long, and they just can't do it the way they used to.
No.
That's why I give total props to Bloober for getting 4 games out in the one generation. I mean, I appreciate that. I like a lot of games like that. I prefer that over one big massive game with an ongoing online way of making money, which I just detest.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either. A lot of people love Fortnite and all that. I'm not a fan. Just
no, not at all either. I just detest that. But everybody's looking for that one game that they can ride for a lot of years and just keep milking money out of it. And there's been a few of them, but I still blows my mind that the whole free to play, they can make money off of microtransactions and stuff. I've just never done that. I just can't see doing it, but there are people that do it. I mean, when you hear those financial reports, and even the big companies like EA and Activision, millions, if not billions of dollars is made off of freaking transactions, not even the sales of games, which, God, I hate that. I wish it would go back to where it was just about the sales of games.
Right.
And I guess we have to blame anyone for that. We got to blame Microsoft for this, because I think that's what they've always wanted. And they've always envisioned that let's make money with the game being online and not keep making sequels, but just keep updating the game and finding different ways to monetize said game. Yeah, I've never liked that, and that's always kind of been their thing. Of course, it took Grand Theft Auto 5 and Fortnite to actually, and there's a few other ones, Rainbow Six, and to a lesser extent, some big MMOs that have, always made money off of people that way. But I don't know. I just miss the release of the game, and I didn't even mind DLC so much, especially if it was just like 1 or 2 DLCs, and then, that could stretch the life of the game out a little bit longer. That was great. And then eventually you get a sequel to it. But I think games just got so big that doing business that way it's hard. Only a few companies can get away with that. Sony's kind of lucky that they're still able to do that. But hold on. You got this for a second. I got to mute.
Okay, no worries. Well, I will add to this. I'm assuming you're listening, Mojo. But the other one that was really able to do that was Nintendo. But even they're starting to slip up a bit. I mean, not that I blame them. Since the pandemic, started, it slowed down a lot of development as well. And Nintendo just doesn't have as many games coming out as they used to, 2020 and 2021. Although they tend to announce things like a month or two before their release, which is kind of neat. Get the hype going and boom, it's there. You don't have to wait 6 months or 8 months. So that's something that I've always hated with the industry in general. Like they'll announce a game, like, well, what was E3? And then 2 years later, there it is. I think Nintendo also kind of learned their lesson with Metroid. They had to restart the project with that, and now we have no idea. So I mean, I don't even expect that to be out like 2023, if it's even out on the Switch at this point. It might even be out the next console, whatever that might be. So there's a lot. Yeah. So that's that, and when Mojo gets back, I guess we'll talk more about that. And as far as my games go, I've been playing really just older games. I've been trying to catch up on my backlog. The newest game, well, no, I shouldn't say the newest game, but one of the newest games that I got was Little Big Planet. Not Little Big Planet, listen to me. Sackboy: A Big Adventure. I still want to quote Little Big Planet. It's on PS5. It's really, really good. If you really want a solid platformer, I mean, there's no create option this time around, but honestly, it's so focused on the platforming. It's so much better, in my opinion, than Little Big Planet was. The appeal of Little Big Planet was always the create portion of it. You basically play the platform just to get the parts, and then you create, and then you have fun going online and seeing what all the crazy stuff people come up with. It's kind of like Mario Maker. That's in that way. Or I should say Mario Maker's like Little Big Planet, since that came out after. But Sackboy is really, really good. I'm really impressed with it. I haven't beaten it yet, but I'm getting pretty far into it, and it just throws out a ton of new ideas. Most of your collectibles are in the way your character looks, like costume pieces and whatnot. But so you can really customize and mix and match and stuff. It's pretty cool. But the game itself is just really, really fun. It's really solid. Great multiplayer. I gotta say, I'm impressed. It runs at 60 frames a second. I'm not sure if it's truly 4K. I think Digital Foundry did a thing on it saying it's upscaled. It's a temporal, it's like 1800p or 1440p, but it looks amazing. I mean, you couldn't tell, honestly, if you didn't know. And on the PS5 version, anyway, they added a lot of extra effects. There's more grass. There's it looks like ray tracing, but it's not. Apparently, it's sub-screen reflections, but SSR. But it looks screen space reflections. Listen to me. Ugh. Getting all my terms mixed up. But but it looks amazing. I mean, it when they use that effect, because you can actually see your character in the bubbles, and you can see your character moving around on like any reflective surfaces. I know they said it wasn't ray tracing, but there's just something about it that looks better than the typical SSR, especially the way it reflects your character. It's a little more detailed than what we're used to seeing, because it looks like it is actually, I mean, it just looks like it's actually reflecting it from an angle that the screen doesn't quite hit. And that could just be a trick. I mean, to be honest with me, the camera is kind of fixed, so my limited knowledge of SSR is kind of showing here. But either way, whether they use ray tracing or SSR, it looks great. Sorry, I'm rambling on about that because that it impressed me. But the gameplay is great. Controls well. A lot of fun. Highly collectible. And I recommend it. I mean, if you want a good, solid platformer and you're looking, on the PS5, and even if you have the PS4 version, there is a free upgrade. I just got the PS5 version because, well, I had the PS5. But They do include the upgrade, and the upgrade, of course, loads are like seconds, like 2 seconds you're in. Um, it feels almost like a cartridge. I love it. So that's the SSD for you, and the Xbox has similar load times too. I don't want to sound like I'm just focusing on the PS5, um, but that is an exclusive. So that's one of the games that I got recently that I'm having a lot of fun with, and really I've been playing Animal Crossing and a bunch of other Switch games, older ones that were a lot of fun. One game that flew under a lot of people's radars called Horus. I can't explain this one. You just kind of have to download it and play it. It's apparently it was made by two guys, and it's just an amazing little story and a little platformer. And it just took me by surprise. And it's done in like a 16-bit pixelated fashion. Like when it zooms in, it's really pixelated, but it's done artistically, and the story's pretty cool. I mean, you're seeing it from Horace's, who's like this android guy, his perspective, and he's like a little. It's almost like he's a kid. It's like you're seeing it from a kid's perspective. He's very innocent, and it's kind of neat. I mean, it's kind of touching, and there's more emotion to the story that I expected for a platformer. And for an indie game, and it was on sale for $2. I mean, it's not anymore, unfortunately, but it doesn't matter. It's honestly, I think it's 20 or 25. It's worth it at that price. I got to look up the price, but it really is worth it if you want to check it out. I don't want to say too much about it, but I do recommend that. So it's called Horus. So again, flew under, even almost under my radar. The only reason I picked it up is because I heard good things, and I was like, "Oh, $2, why not?" Best $2 I spent this year so far. I'll be honest. I know it's only February, but still. Um, Heck, it's the
I'm
best
back,
two.
by the way.
Oh, hey! I was just saying about Horus on the Switch. I think it's also on other platforms too. I don't think it's just the Switch, but um, it's just I've spent like $2 on it, and it's just an amazing game. Flew under a lot of people. Like I said, a lot of people's radar.
Yeah, I've not heard of that. Although I heard of somebody earlier today talking about something H. Maybe that's Horse. I don't know.
Could be. It's like this little android guy. Again, I don't want to spoil too much. The whole thing is all about the story. So I really can't talk. I really can't say anything without ruining it, because right from the get go, there's spoilers, and you just have to experience it. So I'm going to keep this one vague. You just got to trust me. I think if you download it and you hate it, find me. Great Gamer Wolf 1 Twitter. Hate me. Ping me. Say, hey, you suck. I don't care. I liked it. But you won't. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. It's just an amazing game. And it opens up in such a nice way. Like it's very linear first, and then it opens up later. Like you can pretty much go anywhere. You get more abilities. I wouldn't go far as to say it's a Metroidvania. It definitely has that feel as well. Because the more you get, the more you can do in the game, and then it just gets crazy.
Sounds interesting.
It is. It is. Again, I think it's available for everything, but it's great on the Switch. I mean, it's one of those games that are perfect for the Switch. I mean, it doesn't have crazy graphics. Graphics are decent, I think. Anything. It runs at 60 frames a second, by the way. Just want to get that out of the way for those frame rate people
Frame
out there.
whores, I call them. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
frame whores. But it does run at 60 frames a second, even in portable on the Switch, and it's consistent. I haven't encountered any slowdown. If there is, it's minor. I mean, I'm not even gonna. It's not even worth mentioning. It's just an impressive game. So that's my recommendation as well. So
Yeah, I haven't been getting a lot of gaming in, to be honest. And I got no excuse because I don't work anymore. But I've been more, I don't know, watching stuff. I broke down and did the HBO Max deal. It's not really a deal. I'm just paying the whole price for it, but it's pretty good. You get that all them Warner Brothers movies day and date. Of course, so far it's only been Wonder Woman, which 1984, which kind of sucked, and then I can't think of the name of it. And I just watched it like a few nights ago, or like a week ago. The one with Denzel Washington and the guy from Mr. Robot.
Oh, yeah. Oh God, I can't think of it either.
Yeah, I can't think of his name, but it's a really good movie. It's not great. Okay. It's not like on the level of, say, Seven, which is what they were clearly going for, but still really good. There's only a handful of movies can be as good as like Seven was.
Right.
And this is just a movie in that vein of, and it's really, really well done. And I enjoyed it. I love movies like that. So, and a lot of them just don't get made anymore because it's that whole, it's the same problem in gaming. It's got to be that big blockbuster and $200 million budget, and then make $1 billion profit. And good God, I miss those mid-level movies, as I also miss like the AA games. And I know they're still out there, but there's just not nearly as many of them. And it's almost like now it's like the indie level stuff is what used to be upwards to AA, and then it jumps to that AAA, or as Microsoft proudly started calling it, quadruple A gaming. But yeah. Anyway, it's an excellent movie. It's on HBO Max, so if anybody has that, they know what I'm talking about. It's splashed all over that loading page.
I do know. I just can't. I feel embarrassed to say I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm too lazy to reach over, pick up my phone, and bring it up because it's.
Oh, and by the way, Horus is $15 per. It's worth it at that price. You cannot go wrong.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to toss that in while it was fresh in my memory.
No, I like stuff like that. I get mad sometimes at Xbox because they really, really worry too much about the $1 billion franchises as opposed to just making some good games. And then they can have big time franchises. They'd make that sequel off a game that maybe didn't make as much money as they had hoped. But if it didn't come out of the gate making a crazy amount of money, then they tend not to want to do a sequel, or and Game Pass is supposed to alleviate all that, but it's really not so far. It's really not yet, but it may. Got to give it time. Game Pass is still fairly new, but we'll see.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean, they invested so much in it. I'm glad they reversed their faux pas when they doubled the price of the Xbox.
Yeah. Again, but I don't know. I don't know about that. Game Pass has to be a home run for them. Okay. And this is the reason why Sony can't just do it. It's going to take Sony a long, long time before they ever get close to doing what Microsoft's doing, because you got to be willing to give your game away. Okay, you're not going to be able to sell it. And I know Microsoft keeps, oh, yeah, you still get good sales, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever, fuck. Okay, we're not stupid. No, you're giving the game away. All right, you need X amount of subscribers. Once you hit those levels, then everything will be okay. You'll be making your money, and it'll fund your new games. But to make that transition, you got to be able to handle those kind of losses. Sony is not able to do that right now, and have not been able to do that over the last couple of years. Microsoft was able to do it, and then they think about it. How much? I don't know how much money it cost to make Gears 5, and they make a little bit money back on Steam sales and
man,
and all that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's funny because I feel like you're right. Gears 5. Wow, I got it. I got the physical version for $5 because of Game Pass.
Yeah, exactly. It's and I get it. I get Microsoft, and so it didn't bother me when they made that announcement that day. I got to go live immediately and start ranting about this. I'm like, well, fuck all them gold people. If you ain't already got Game Pass, what the fuck is wrong with you? Okay, it's been out a while. It is the best deal in gaming, period. Okay, ain't nothing anybody else does touches this for the amount of content you get for either 10, 12, or $15 a month, depending on which level you subscribe at. It's fucking amazing. So I'm like, if they want to, and it wasn't really double. That was the other thing too. They just, the way they went about announcing it was pretty stupid. And they wasn't trying to be sneaky, I don't think, because it was just dumb the way they announced it. First of all, if gold is all you had, then you are not going to pay any more. A lot of,
Right.
there's only brand new people. Here's what people aren't understanding, they stopped producing those 1 year cards. Okay, keys or whatever you want to call it, however you want to call it, a physical card or a CD key or whatever you want to call it. They're not doing the 1 year, but there's still a ton of those out there. You can walk in Walmart right now. You can walk into a GameStop or a Target, and they'll have them on them little pegboards, a shit ton of cards, and you can buy a year Game Pass for, basically half price, and you can still get them at CD keys. Okay, you can get those, but once those are gone, Microsoft's no longer producing the 1 year deal. Okay, they're trying to get what the actual price of Game Pass, of gold is. They're trying to make people actually pay that. And the reason in the past, they didn't care because they needed those numbers. Hey, we got X amount of gold people and blah, 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 and all that. And if we don't get $30 out of them, we're not going to get anything because they're not going to pay $60. They were getting what they could get. But now they need those people converted over to Game Pass. Okay, it's kind of important to them. And since they if you go back a few months ago, that's when they announced they wasn't doing the 1 year card anymore. Okay, so it's kind of sneaky, but those aren't going to be sold anymore. People are like, well, that's only on the Xbox store. You can't buy the 1 year, right? But they're not making the gold key anymore or the 1 year keys. So eventually the ones that are out there will run out. Takes a while because they had a lot of them out there. They've been producing those 1 year CD keys and or a card where you scratch it off and you got the number and that's your key number or whatever. But there's a lot of them. But that's how they were like, hey, we can't let people be getting this half price shit anymore. I understood it. And then I understood what I didn't understand is why didn't they just tell retailers pull those off. We're not going to take them anymore. Pull those off your store. Not honor CD keys, and I guess that would have caused more backlash. So maybe I do understand why they didn't do that because that might cause even more backlash. But at least with retailers, it would be pretty easy to go to the GameStops, Targets, Walmarts, and say, hey, get rid of those. Those are done. But yeah, they were going to make new people pay, and you were going to be paying as much as what Game Pass costs. So just get fucking Game Pass. I understood it. And what I didn't understand was how quick they broke. Wow, when people started crying and complaining, the entitled gamers of the world cried like little babies, and Microsoft was like, fuck.
It's about perception.
Yeah,
and that's really what kills it. I mean, true or not, I mean, you're right. I mean, it wouldn't have affected anyone who already has a service, but they didn't see it that way. And unfortunately, you're right. The way they rolled it out, until you read the small print, you didn't know that. I'll be honest.
Oh yeah, it was.
And it wasn't clear. And by the time it was clear, everyone already complained, so they rolled it back. I mean, it's cool that they listened, but at the same time, I
want Game Pass to be a big success for them because I don't want to see Game Pass go away. I mean,
I don't think it will.
Great deal.
I mean, a lot of people have it. I mean, and people are.
Yeah, well, what are they saying? 18 million right now, which means it's probably over 20 million, but because they always announce 2 or 3 million under what it really is. I guess because you got people coming into and going out of it constantly, so to just cover themselves, they always just announce way under the number. But
It's also hard on the PC level because of Steam and even Epic's. Steam is always doing sales that are ridiculous. It's like, they sell $60 games for $2 and it's yours.
Yeah.
And Game Pass games come and go. I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's like the Netflix of gaming.
Yeah.
You have games and they add games and they take away games, and all right, fine, that's cool. That's the way the service works. But on PC it's a harder sell, I should say, because and then like Epic's games, their game store, they give away a free game every month, and it's usually a pretty good one. So it's harder to sell it on that. So it's all about the Xbox folks. And you figure what? There's 50, 60 million Xboxes. So 1 in 3. I mean, I know I'm oversimplifying this, but 1 in 3 people have it. So I think as time goes on, more and more people will get it.
But 30 million is the magic number, going way back when I was just starting to talk about Game Pass before it actually was a thing. I was already doing the math in my head and realizing that, wow, this is a lot more money than you can make. Even if you have your 2 bangers a year, both turn out to be big hits and sell between 8, 10, even 15 million. Game Pass will dwarf that.
Oh yeah.
And it'll be, 1 million is that was their initial we want to hit. And then it was minor little jumps, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million. 15 million, 18 million. And back then I was saying, and then it's going to be 30 million. And once they hit 30 million subscribers, that was when Netflix kind of took off through the stratosphere. And in fact, when they hit 30 million, that's when other content providers kind of poked their head up and was like, what the fuck? There's 30 million people on Netflix at $10 or $12 a month or whatever it was back then. And they did the math and they were like, holy shit. So they started jacking the price up. Well, we sell Netflix such and such show, it didn't matter what network it was originally broadcast on. There's always somebody else that owns the rights to that crap now, that's been selling that stuff in syndication for years and years. And but the rights holders realized we're not getting enough money. So people started jacking up their prices for just shows and even some movies that were, out in that syndication market that anybody could purchase. Netflix wanted to slap that Netflix original tag on it, even though it wasn't a Netflix movie. They paid for the rights to have that slapped on it. But anyway, they started having to take out big loans and big, money, and they started financing their own shows. This all happened at the 30 million mark. And by the time they got upwards of, I don't know, somewhere between 50 and 70 million, that's when other channels started popping up. You started hearing, hey, we're going to have a streaming channel. We're going to have a streaming channel. We're going to have a streaming channel. And eventually Disney was like, yeah, we're going to have a streaming channel. And we're not going to let anything on our channel be on anybody else's. We're going to withhold fucking product. And that was like the Disney Channel was in plans for like 2 years before it went live. It wasn't like no overnight decision, because they understood also they were going to have a shit ton of content and to have this thing to be able to make it, they were going to need all those Marvel and holy shit, it just popped out of my head. The other big Disney thing, Star Wars. We're going to need a shit ton of Star Wars shows. We're going to need a shit ton of Marvel shows to promote this channel, because it's not just going to be about the movies. That'll be a factor of it, but we need, we need more content. So, they bought Fox, and then the virus killed them, because everything we're just now starting to get in 2021, we were supposed to get throughout the year of 2020.
Yeah.
All that got pushed back, all of them. And we're going to get them, but they lost. Hey, let's be honest. Marvel just lost a year. Thanos showed up. and snapped everybody away. But now it's coming back. We're getting Marvel stuff again, which is great. But we're still on the one Star Wars show's all we've ever gotten. 2 seasons of it, and it was fucking amazing. But the point I'm getting at is Netflix had to keep, and now they're up to 2. I might be wrong with this. It might only be 100 million, but I think I read somewhere the other day they were at 200 million subscribers, but maybe it's only 100 million. I don't know. Either way, at an average, and they're up to $15. 100 million times 15 a month. Holy shit. That's a lot of fucking cheddar. And so they can buy all the movies and TV shows they need. And all that money they borrowed to make content, they're now back in the black. They're out of the red. They paid off money back. And people were saying they would never be able to pay it back. That they'd have to keep borrowing to make new shows. And once they get some paid off, then it was going to be it was going to really hurt them. No, didn't even phase them. They've paid all that back, and now they're, it's the way of the future, and but that initial to be able to survive, you got to have that, that income, and they were much smaller for a lot of years and banked all that money. They were smart. They were putting a shit ton of money back, and then they also borrowed a lot of money to have shows made and things that they've now paid off those loans. But it was a lot, and Microsoft's been able to do that, no problem. Buy all these studios, getting games made for Game Pass. But there's that point where they had to flip the switch and basically give everybody a game and just eat that. And I'm just telling you, Sony cannot do that right now. Eventually, what Sony's doing is their own version of the service, but there's no day and date. So they're going to make every penny they can make off a game. And once games reach that point where they're not going to ever sell enough copies for it to matter, 3 years down the road, 5 years, whatever. So they'll throw all those games in there, but they're earning money off of it. And they're up to 2.5 million or something. And it'll continue to grow, and they'll continue to earn money. And hopefully Sony's actually banking money to handle that transition someday where they can flip the switch and start putting stuff day and date and just leaving stuff in there all the time and no longer having to sell, 3, 5, 8, 10 million copies of a game for it to be successful.
Right.
And who knows, they may never go to that. There's nothing wrong with the way they do things now. I still think God of War is like the most perfect as far as there was no DLC.
Speaking of which, they just released a patch.
There was no
they just released a patch for it actually for the PS5 to unlock the frame rate at 4K.
Yeah.
It wasn't, because before it was just 30 frames a second cap.
30, and that's been my big push against the frame horse. No, it's 60 or death. 60 or death. Wait a minute. 2 years ago, you fuckers were spouting that God of War was the greatest game in the history of all of gaming. And it was at 30 fucking frames.
Look fine at 30.
It's trash. That's locked 30. It's trash. It's trash. Fuck that. I mean, if it's better at 60, that's fine. But I still throw down there certain types of games that, as long as you have a locked frame rate, you're fine. It doesn't need to be 60. And there are other games that it has to be 60.
God of War is like that. Even Last of Us, Uncharted. I'm okay with these. I mean, they look nice at 16. I'm not knocking it. Look, you know what I mean. But honestly, it's not exactly any different. It's not a first-person shooter. You know what I mean? You don't need twitch reflexes. It's designed around 30, so you're okay. And that's what people forget. It's like if a game is designed around 30 frames a second, like Medium or God of War or whatever, whatever game it is, those adventure type third-person games, it's fine. You're not going to lose anything. I'll be honest. Like, okay, so for example, just a recent example that most people are familiar with, Spider-Man. So on PS5, it has the upgrade. The 60 frames second upgrade. Yeah, it looks great. I'm not going to knock that. But honestly, in terms of gameplay, to me, the difference between them is non-existent. Some people are like,
Yeah.
oh, it plays so much better at 60. No, it's the same damn thing. It just looks nicer. But honestly, I have
I'm not even
no
sure they look
problem.
nicer, but I get it because you're adding more frames.
I know.
So
I'm just
it's gonna
being.
make the color pop a little more. And
I'm just looking. I'm just looking at it from a frame rate horror perspective. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I mean, honestly, it's when you play it at 30. Like if I do the performance mode or something, I don't have any problem with it. I have it. It's not. It doesn't feel slow or sluggish to me. It doesn't. And I can still play it. It doesn't suddenly become unplayable. I don't have a delay in the controls. I'm still able to pull off all the crazy moves you can do with it. So yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I like 60. Don't misunderstand. But if it's locked 30 in it, the frame rate is solid, and it doesn't go all over the place. What's wrong?
yeah, exactly.
Now, if it goes all over the place, if it dips and it goes to the 20s, and yeah, well, then we got a problem because that's jarring. But
Well, that's the one thing that worries me about. They're like, well, it don't matter. We'll just unlock the frame rate, and it's more to it than that. You unlock that frame rate doesn't guarantee you a steady 60.
yeah,
Now you're going to be up and down. You might get a lot of it at 60, but then you might get that drop down to 30 or 20.
yeah, I hate when it goes all over the place. Yeah, so
Yeah,
fortunately, but again, this is more or less gen. But fortunately, so far, they've been pretty good with that. Like when they unlock it and it's 60, it pretty much stays at 60. One or two areas I don't mind. Every now and then you're gonna get a hiccup, but it's fine. But it's like when on like the last gen, like the PS4 Pro, I'll pick on that. There were plenty of games that were unlocked. Oh man, like Shenmue, and it was all over the place. It was like, hey, look, we're hitting 60. No, now we're dipping into the 30s. Oh, look, we're staying steady at 40. No, 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 no. Screw that. Lock it at 30, or don't. Or get it to 60 constantly. Pick one. That, yeah. In terms of that I'll agree with. That's annoying. But if it's locked at 30 and it keeps that frame rate, no problem. Seriously, no problem.
Yeah, I've been saying it for years. As long as you lock that frame rate, I'm fine. Unless it's a choice shooter where the 60, matters because you want that twitchiness or whatever. You want to be able to zip that mouse around the screen.
Yeah.
I get it for all that, but I don't play those kind of games anyway, so it's never been a big deal to me.
The only game I really play is Doom, and that already runs at 60, so I'm good.
Yeah.
That's the only. And Bioshock. Oh, here's another one. Bioshock. I love that game. Great game. It was 30 for the longest time on like most platforms. I mean, PC hit 60, with a good PC, and now it's at 60, with the remaster. But even like I went back to the Switch because I bought it on the Switch. I got it on sale. One of those Black Friday things. I picked it up for like $15. You know what? Even though it's locked at 30 in Switch, it's locked at 30 on Switch, and it's perfectly playable.
Oh yeah,
and it's great because you can still. It looks great
on my Xbox. So
yeah. I have the 60 frame per second. I have it on PC as well, and they're great. Don't get me wrong. Sure, if you want the best experience, that's what you go. But if you just have a Switch or you just want a portable, nothing wrong with it. Looks great. All the effects are there. It's locked. You're good. So, so just point of fact.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, frame whores though, they're like Nazis. I'm sorry, but they
are.
And they're nice guys. Some of them are some of the best guys on the internet, they say. But man, I just get so tired of hearing that. Well, I can't play a game that's 30 now. I can't go back and play it. Blah, blah. It's like you're so full of shit.
Go back to PS1.
Being a fucking elitist. It's just stupid.
You know what? Play some PS1 and Saturn games. Talk to me about frame rate then.
Yeah.
Or no, better yet, Nintendo 64. That system had the worst frame rate.
Yeah, stuff checked down and nothing. And
Star Fox. I love Star Fox 64. It's one of my favorite games. But Holy cow! That one water level, it was single digit frames, literally. It was just a disaster. Um, but we played it. We liked it. It was good. And now it's like, oh my god, 30 frames a second. And it's like, how old are you now? How long have you been playing games? I mean, to be fair, those first generation 3D games did not age well at all. But
No,
but they were,
the PlayStation ones just
yeah. But honestly, that's the way it was back then. That's all they could do, and it was impressive for the time.
yeah.
And we moved well past that. I mean, since the PS2 days, we hit 60 on a lot of games.
Well, even back then, I didn't like those games. I thought they were horrible, and they'll just keep making 2D shit for me because I thought that stuff was garbage, and it was. It wasn't until the PS2 they figured shit out, and it was like, okay, now I see this 3D game working and playing right. And
I agree. I was all about the 2D stuff in the 32-bit era. I mean, I enjoyed the 3D. I did like Metal Gear and all that for what it was, because despite the roughness of the 3D, that game had a way of doing it. It was nothing like it at the time, And games like that, I'm just giving you an example. But honestly, some of my favorite games, Castlevania, that's 2D. Silhouette Mirage, that's a 2D game. Most people there's a game most people don't remember.
Yeah.
And it just also it's there was a Castlevania Chronicles game that most people forget. The Mega Man. There was I think a Mega Man 8. Although it's for the Saturn as well. Anything on the Saturn, any of the 2D fighters on the Saturn. Oh, yeah. I mean, I can go on. Those are some of my favorite games. The only other 3D game that I really enjoyed was the Panzer Dragoon series.
Speaking of the Saturn, have you seen they've got that? I think they call it the Saturnator. It's really stupid, but it's instead of having to take your laser out and replacing something to get a hard drive in there, it lets you load it into that
cartridge
port. No. The one in the back, the video card went in. Where your battery goes and the video card.
Yeah,
this thing goes in that, and it lets you. You can put everything.
Wow.
You don't have to use your disc, but you don't have to take your disc out. Your disc still works, but it lets you play everything. I haven't got the price yet because I'm like, I don't want to get upset because I know they've got that one that lets you either choose between Dreamcast or the Saturn. And that thing's really pricey, but I was gonna eventually get one. Just
hey, if nothing else, it saves your disk drive.
Yeah, I've got multiple Saturns, and but I've never had the disc. I don't want them to go bad, but I've got one that's hard internally. What the word I'm looking for? It's modded or whatever, but and then I've got another one just where that cartridge port on top where you put the 4-in-1.
Yep.
For the memory cartridge, I've got one that lets you play other games and things, but you still got to burn the games. You still got to have them. It'll just let you play them.
Right.
But and again, that'll wear your laser out. But this new thing, you don't use the laser; it bypasses it, and you load everything on an SD card, and you put that SD card in this square cartridge-looking thing, and you plug it into the video port.
Yeah, it's like the EverDrive version, Saturn. EverDrive version of Saturn version of EverDrive is what I'm trying to say. Wow.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing I was talking about. You can buy one that you pop out the laser and it gets inserted there, and it's and you can do the same thing either on the Dreamcast or you can make it for the Saturn. But that's really expensive, and it's still a hassle of having to.
Yeah, plus I want the laser drive. I mean, that's
exactly me too. And this is a perfect solution. I've got it written down
because I have a ton of just OG games too.
I wrote it down. I have it set in here. I can't find a little piece of paper now. Oh, here it is. It's SATIATOR. And it's the ODE. I don't know what the ODE means, but I think that's it's part of it. But the SAT Sador. I don't know. But anyway, I've not went online to see what they're selling it for, but watched the video and it's pretty badass. You know, it's like the one guy that does. He's not MVG, but this guy makes his own. It's like that arcade Astro City Mini that I have that Sega actually put out. Okay, he's been selling one of those for years, and it's almost, I don't want to say double the size of what the official Sega one is. You know, that's more in line with any of your mini consoles or classics or whatever they want to call them. But this guy makes one multi-game system, MGS, and he puts it in the various housings and things. But he's also got one that's like it's a lot bigger than the official one that Sega sells, but I don't know what he sells them for, but he's got some videos and his is cool because you can actually pop out the screen and then switch it vertical.
That's cool.
So fucking badass when he does it in the video. It's like, oh, holy shit. Yeah. But I haven't wanted to price it because I got a feeling it's gonna be too much. And considering I have all those games on multiple different ways of playing them, it's like, yeah. And I've already got the official Sega Astro City cab, and which is really cool and all. But his is, like I said, it's a lot bigger, and the screen pops out, and you rotate it and put it back in, and holy shit, it's pretty cool. But yeah, look it up on YouTube, MGS multi-game system, and you should be able to find his videos. Because he also sells full-size cabs that has that. It has all your games on it, and he sells them in like a regular console type box, as well as that mini Astro City. Some of them I don't even think he ever sells. He just does prototypes and has on there, and then he didn't go anywhere. I don't know if he didn't get backing or what, but anyway, it's pretty damn cool. Because I'm like Saturn's it's one of my all-time favorite consoles, if not the favorite. I don't know why most people don't even care for it, because I guess because they didn't sell all their best games were even sold in America.
That's the problem with it.
Mind-boggling how you can have a great game and then not release it in the States.
I know. There's so many, especially like Radiant Silvergun. That one to me. I mean, I'm glad it finally was released officially on the Xbox. I mean, I know it's digital only, but I'm glad because you can play it on that. But honestly, it was just a sin that was not released. I'm just glad we got Ikaruga or Ikaruga, however you want to pronounce it. Here, because I mean, honestly, Radiant Silvergun was just amazing. It was like the best shooter ever on the Saturn. It was just amazing. And
so many great shooters on the Saturn.
I know. And I picked up quite a few of them, and it's like half of them were Japanese only. I
have them all. I just burn them. I don't care.
Oh sure, that's
console now. So yeah, I have multiple ways of playing them, and I've had the burn disc, but yeah, only because I couldn't go out and buy them when they had them, and everybody. There's some people to this day still blame Sony for Sega going out of business, and I'm like,
no,
Sega was just. They got into a pissing contest between Sega of Japan and Sega of America.
Yep. There's a lot of
shit.
Honestly, look it up on YouTube for those people who still believe that. Look it up on YouTube, the Sega's history. It's a good. I mean, there's so many videos on it. And one of the things that blew me away, and I didn't know this, when they stopped, producing the Dreamcast, they almost went completely bankrupt. They almost shut down. Yeah. And one of the shareholders, apparently, when he I think it was one of the shareholders, he forgave the debt, he paid them off, and then when he died, he left all his shares and everything to Sega, and it was like $650 million, and that saved them. That's I don't have the specifics. It's on YouTube. It's not just on YouTube. It's all over the internet. You have to look into it. But Sega almost didn't exist after the Dreamcast, and people don't realize that. It wasn't just a matter of, we're just going to stop selling consoles and go multi-platform. It's not that simple. That takes amazing amounts of money because they literally were switching their entire ecosystem. And that isn't something you can just do. It's not something that, we'll stop it. No, it takes hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. And Sega did not have that money until God bless him, that guy, he's like, yep, I'll just donate it all back to you guys, and that's what saved them. It's amazing, and that's why I don't think you'll ever see them produce a console again. At least not, a brand new one like that. It takes way too much. It's the opposite's also true. It's more money than they really need to spend. They're doing okay now, but it's like they're better off multi-platform. And I know a lot of people like, well, Microsoft might buy them. It's a lot. I don't know, but because Microsoft would have the money, they can totally have the money. But Sega isn't a small purchase. I mean, Sega is billions, way more than Bethesda. You know what I mean? And ZeniMax. So I don't see it happening. But hey, if it does, I'm wrong. Cool. Whatever. I just want them to survive, and I'm glad they did. But that's what people don't get. It's like Sony, honestly, if anything, Sony was gunning for Nintendo because of what happened with the CD-ROM.
Yeah, exactly. But Sega was floundering, so they just like, we can take them out. But they wasn't going to take Nintendo out.
It was an easy, when they couldn't take Nintendo out, Sega was an easy target, but they weren't the initial target. They didn't exist because of Sega.
I mean, when you have so many great games by all those Capcom fighters didn't come, and it's like they would have sold, and more people would have bought. But
I bought them.
America was determined to shit on the Saturn. They just did not want it to horrible because they wasn't ready to give up the Genesis. So that's where they come up with that whole 32X. Oh, we got this huge. No, you got to give up that player base. People always want new, and they want new to be more powerful and better.
32X was fail. I mean, it was doomed to failure even before it was released.
Yeah.
And those aren't my words. I mean, that's actually what a lot of people say, and then there's evidence of it, and that's sad. I mean, a lot of those games were rushed.
It was horrible.
Yeah,
I was there at the time, and
that was ridiculous.
I didn't understand it back then, and it was like, wait a minute, what are you doing? You've already got the Saturn released in Japan, and we're getting this fucking wannabe 32-bit. Just like, come on. It was just a bad move. But they were treading new ground. Okay, consoles had not been around that long, and this was Sega's first huge success, the Genesis.
Yeah.
And they just did not want to give up that user base. But here's the thing that companies have had to learn. I think Microsoft's going to have to learn this lesson if they haven't already. You got to have generations. Believe it or not, people want new consoles. They want that new shiny.
Yeah.
And you can't do it too soon. That pisses them off too. You mean I got already buy? No, stop it. They don't want that every 2 years, that cell phone bullshit.
Yeah.
That's not what people want. People want at least 5 to 6 years. Then they want that newness. It's time. And Microsoft needs to just get over themselves. Okay? You're not going to be able to just update your Xbox every 2 years and that satisfy people. They want that new, that physical. I'm just telling you, they're in for a rude awakening if they think someday that they're going to have everybody play online and just sell them a controller, and then they make their power upgrades on their servers. Hey, these games will now do this, that, and be all this much better, and it's all done for you, and it's on the server. That all sounds great, but I just don't think people's changed. They love having a console, and they love getting a new console. Okay, you don't want to. They've been conditioned to this, because here's the thing: if you don't get something new, somebody else will, and they'll make theirs more powerful, and they'll put you out. That's always been part of the business too.
Oh yeah.
and not. So hopefully there's a fine line of these upgrade paths, and so we still get new hardware. And I don't know that it'll ever get to the point where people will be satisfied with just having a controller and playing their games and not owning anything. And I'm not the big physical guy. I love having all my games digital. I just have them on hard drives. And the other day, my son, last week, he took the OG Xbox One over to a friend's house to play. I don't know what fucking game it is. It's some game I don't play, but I have it. Oh God, it's one of those where it's definitely an online game that you play, co-op. Anyway, you're worried about the
You
name
just
of the game.
described about 20 of them.
Yeah, if I wasn't the one playing it, but anyway, I was like, "Oh, you take the X," and he didn't want to take it because it was $500, and I'm like, "Hey, that OG Xbox One when it came out was $500." Of course, at 100 that was because of the Kinect, but anyway, a week later, him and his friend they want to go through this game completely, and it's a big game. It wasn't very successful, but it was a really big game. So he's like, well, "What kind of?" I told him, "You can take the X. I don't care. Just be careful with it." They made that thing it's tall cube, whatever design, whatever you call that, but it's pretty easy travel wise. And I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead," and he did. And it's pretty cool. But now I'm gonna have to, while we're sitting here, I am gonna actually do that. I don't have my Xbox on, but I'm gonna turn it on right now just so I can see that damn game, because that's gonna eat at me if I don't do it. But yeah, should be able to just look.
Wait. Oh yeah, that yeah.
No, I can't go to just I can go to updates to see if it's, because I had to update it and move it and other stuff. But that's gonna take forever to do it that way. No, you know what? I'm just gonna go to my library, and I'm pretty sure it's A. I think it starts with an A. Hold on, I'm closing in. I'm already at the B's. So no, it wasn't at the A. Son of a gun.
Apex Legends?
No.
Oh, say, wait a minute.
Full library. Hold on. No, I don't want to go. I want to go to big one, 750, because I I didn't own it. I had to get it off of Game Pass for him, so I did not own it. By the way, which I do now because of Game Pass. Thank you, Game Pass. It did start with an A. Hold on. Nope, son of a gun. I don't see it. Oh, you know what? You can break it down by just what's I've got in Game Pass. So I go to full library, Xbox Game Pass. And the game in question is Ark Survival.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Survival Evolved. Okay. Anyway, that was the game, which I did not play it, but it's for whatever reason, him and his friends going through it. And his friend has a pretty beefy PC, but he said the Xbox Series X blew it away.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
But the OG Xbox One just kind of chugged along and played the game, a week earlier. But when we went back with it, so anyway, I think that's a cool little story. As far as the game looking better on the Series X than it did on that guy's PC. I don't know what that guy's PC specs are, so.
I mean, depends on how. Yeah, to be honest, if you're talking about top of the line PCs, they'll look just as good, if not slightly better, on PC. I mean, we're talking
2080 Ti, and in this year's cards, the 2060, 70, 80, or 30. Excuse me.
Your Thursday 30.
Yeah. Those are all going to be better, and then even the 2080 Ti is better. But anything below that, 2080 standard, 2070, whatever, 2060.
I've been watching a lot of the
better than all those.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of the comparisons between the PC and the Series X, and I gotta say I'm impressed, because even though the PC edges it out, in terms of like ray tracing and things, it's not night and day. Not yet. I mean, a couple of years from now, sure, but It's pretty good. I mean, for $500, you get a
Then in a
pretty
couple of
good.
years, here's my thing: is how many people's actually going to have the 40 series or 50 series cards? They
Yeah,
release those, and you know what? They don't sell but a few thousand, not million, not hundreds of thousands. They just sell a few thousand of them because they're expensive as fuck when they're new. And yeah, there's some people that can run out and buy $1,000 card or a $700 or $800 card, but most people don't get a card of that level until 5, 6, 7, 8 years later when they can pick it up for a couple $100. My own son, he's still using a 2060. I can't remember. It's a 20 series, but it's like I think it's the 2060. I don't think he might even have a 70. I don't know. But when we updated it, that card had already been out, and we got it reasonably priced. But you can't just buy that newest, latest, greatest unless you got unlimited disposable income. So even when
that's
that
true.
great card comes out, most people don't get it for 2 years later, and they're already not buying the best that's on the market because they you can't afford it. And every single year they come out with the and I don't like that. I don't want consoles to be like that. I love the fact you buy a console and you're good for 5 to 7 years. That's been going on since the NES and the Sega Master System. You buy it and you got it. You got a generation, and I love that. Because I know I'm going to get a new one. Eventually, they're going to come out with it.
Right.
And there's been exceptions, where somebody went out of business or had one that just didn't sell for whatever reason, and they come out of that generation early, like Nintendo did with the Wii U. They bailed on that fucker way early, and then they went to the Switch, and boom, they were right back in the gravy.
Yeah.
They were having an argument on a podcast yesterday, and I don't want to name it. It's a good podcast, and they're all good dudes and stuff, but they were arguing over sales of consoles and things, and the PS4, 100 million. The big argument was that Sony always had sold 100 million except for the PS3, and some of those numbers are not true. Well, the PS1, I think, didn't crack 100 million until long after the PS2 had been out. And
yeah, it was.
Even then, they were buying them for under $50 in secondary markets around the world. That boosted those numbers, and they never sold that when the console was actually active and you were getting new games on a weekly to monthly basis. So that it didn't really sell 100 million. It didn't even sell 80 million. In all honesty, the PS1 did not when it was an active console. But that's just the way it works. The PS4 actually, in its own lifetime, it sold 100 million, and the PS2 also did that feat. But I hate it when people throw in. And then here's what really got me. They were saying the GameCube was a failure, and I was like, "What? GameCube actually sold way more than the N64 did. It was anything but a failure." But here was the thing: it's R&D. Nintendo. It was the most Nintendo's ever spent on a console. Okay, it was way more than they spent designing the N64 or the Super Nintendo. They spent a lot of money on that GameCube, and they thought they had the most powerful system, and then the Xbox, shit a big turd on them, and they ended up third that generation. But it sold great. I mean, it was over 30 million. That's why when people joke about, Xbox One was a failure, it sold over 50 million. You sell 50 million of anything, and it's a huge success.
So according to the official numbers, I take this with a grain of salt. This is Wikipedia, so really take this with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
The GameCube sold 21.74 million lifetime. That's
I'd read over 30 million, but in the past, but maybe that's right. Maybe it was only over 20 million.
And Nintendo 64 was 32.93.
Oh, maybe I flip flopped them then. Maybe that's true.
Yeah. So it sold less than
Here's the thing: the GameCube is the fucking Wii. A lot of people don't understand that. They just shrunk the GameCube down, I mean, they beefed it up a little, but it's still the same engine,
Mhm.
same hardware, same thing. And so it didn't. They spent the least amount of money going from GameCube to Wii than they ever had on any console. Because basically they already had it with the GameCube, and they're like, I guess maybe it did sell less, and Nintendo was like, holy shit, we got to get our money back out of this fucker, and they rolled it into the Wii. And the only thing they did to the Wii was that Air Force dude was going door to door with his Wiimote technology, and all the other companies told him to go the fuck away. And Nintendo was like, no, that's cool. We need something for our new console, and they bought the rights to it. And they were promptly sued by 10 other people that claimed they were the ones that invented it.
Of course, yeah, that that's always the case.
Yeah, but anyway, then the moral of the story is they sold over 100 million Wii's with that GameCube engine. So yeah, and it didn't cost them anything to switch between the two machines. In fact, they saved a bunch of money because it was so easy for them when they shrunk that GameCube down and to produce those Wii's. It was classic Nintendo to turn a failure into a success. Kind of like they did with the Wii U. They didn't take that Wii U sitting down, or they knew they had the right idea with the handheld portion of it. They just didn't implement it correctly, and
Right.
and they came back with the Switch. And it's really amazing because they didn't do it internally. They went to NVIDIA and hey, what you got for us? And
that was a good choice. Yeah. I think that really was, because
NVIDIA. It bothered me that the chipset they bought, they could have pushed back a few more months, and then they could have bought the next chipset. But that would have jacked the price up, and I got it. They wanted to come out at a price point that would, yeah.
They did it right. They did well. On a business standpoint, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah. By buying that particular chipset, they got it so much cheaper. And
wow, I didn't know
70 million.
Sorry, I didn't know the Saturn sold this low. It was only 9.26 million.
See, I heard that. I've heard that recently too, but I can remember 5 years ago they were always reporting that it sold 13 million.
Still, that's nothing compared to the PlayStation's 100 million. Yeah. Ouch! Oof.
Yeah, Saturn. It was because Sega of America did not want people buying a Saturn. It didn't promote it. They wouldn't let the 2D games out. They're like, no, everything has to be 3D. They had all these great 2D games that would have had sales go through the roof. And no, it wouldn't have beat the PlayStation 1. I don't believe that. I don't believe it would have beat the N64. But it wouldn't have embarrassed itself like it did. It would have been probably 30 million.
Yeah, it would have been much better. Well, I bought one, so I'm happy with it.
That thing's built like a tank. So, in fact, since then, I've bought several more. But, yeah. All of mine are black. Somehow I've not scored a white one. I'm going to have to get me a white one. We'll see how much I can't even pronounce that thing I was telling you about.
Yeah, well, that sounds interesting. I should definitely.
Yeah, I just hadn't Googled it yet because I was afraid it would be something stupid. It'd be like $400 or something crazy like that. It's like they got some great stuff for the Neo Geo, but it's just so expensive. And it's like, really? My microwave can play all those Neo Geo games. I don't need to spend $450 on something. But
it's the nostalgia. That's really what they're.
But at least, I bought 2 of the Neo Geo minis, but those were inexpensive. I'm talking about where you can get every single Neo Geo game. Their version of an EverDrive. There's been a couple of different companies put that out. And my God, they sell them at just way too much money. And I'm like, no, not for just Neo Geo games, because they're just available too many other ways. I'm not spending $350 to $450 on a product just to get all your games and play on bootleg.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm happy with my actual AES, and I've got one of those multi-game cartridges that has the majority of the games on it, and it works with the home version. It's not just the MVS version, which I have not one but two consoleized MVSs, and I've got two different cartridges for those. With the big, it's got the 80 in one, or how much ever it is, or 280 in one, or whatever they call it. It's, I don't know, but anyway, I've got that, and then I've got PS2, PS3, Xbox 360 packages of Neo Geo games. Yeah, there's just way too many ways to play them to go out and drop $450. But I get it. They're like, well, if you try to go buy, all the Neo Geo library, it'd be $10,000, and it's like, well, yeah, but that's stupid too, because they didn't produce enough of them, and now the people that have them are, they got prices, supply and demand. I get it. You got something and nobody else has it, you can sell it for whatever you want to. That don't mean I'm going to pay for it. I'm not.
Right.
That's why I love the EverDrives and put all that shit on a SD card. And I'm shocked that somebody hasn't done just a regular. I guess they can't because of the RAM. They had so much RAM on them damn Neo Geo carts because they were meant for the MVS first, and yeah, they throwed that RAM at well, we'll make our game better because we got all that RAM on it. We got the whole game in RAM and have that on the cartridge. It made sense at the time, but and they were a niche thing, and they always knew that, so they wasn't trying to sell 30 million consoles. I don't know how many they ever sold, but
the thing is, they were more their money was made in the arcades. That's really what it was designed for. The system was just a nice way of getting the true arcade experience at home. But it was, of course, at a premium.
Oh yeah.
But $200 per game. Oh wow! When it came out, and this was like what, the '90s. It was like that's like $500 an hour or something.
Well, they were trailblazers. That big red console that was the first that had multi games on it. Sega would do something similar by the time they got around to the Dreamcast and whatever that version is.
Oh yeah. Of course, at that point, the arcade is called the Naomi or something.
Yeah, the Naomi. And then that eventually blossomed into the that some company released those games after that because Sega had already went third party only. I can't think of the name of it. They had like a weird dolphin. Oh shit, I can't think of it. But anyway, there was actually something after the Naomi that would have been Sega, but a bunch of Sammy games are on it, and then Sammy eventually bought Sega, or Sega bought Sammy, however you want to look at it. But I can't think of the name of it. But it's but anyway, it wasn't just them. Capcom did it with their CPS 1 and 2 boards, and 3 board. They made those interchangeable on Candy Cabs, and then just that Candy Cab itself that Sega had with the Astro City. The cabs didn't change. You just changed the cards in them.
Right.
But they would have been none of that if it hadn't been for the Neo Geo and the MVS. So hats off to them.
I always think it's kind of cool. And it makes me giggle. Like where I am, there's a local arcade. They're only open seasonally because they're part of the beach, but they have like a Street Fighter cab, and they're always playing like anything but. It's like Tekken. It has Tekken in it. It has and it's just funny to see because it's like you said, it's interchangeable. And you wouldn't think, I know Tekken is Namco and it's not Capcom, but those boards are swappable.
Namco had their own version of that in conjunction with Taito, whatever.
Yep.
They had the Egrets Candy Cab. Just like the Astro City, and there was another Sega one after Astro City. It's even better, and I can't think it's something City too, but I can't think of what it's called. But they were all meant to be. The cab didn't matter. The cards were all interchangeable, and
right. I just thought that was incredibly cool that you could do that. I mean, I
I
knew all along, but it was just when years ago when I first saw that, I'm like, huh.
can remember in the late '90s into the early 2000s being in Japan and going into arcades where they were literally, 150 identical white candy cabs. Now, some of them were Sega's, uh, Astro City, and whatever the other city was, and then the Egrets, which was the Tato or Tato cabs, and but they look almost identical. Just a little bit of printing on them makes them the only real difference. But they all look, you can sit down or stand up and play them, and they're white, and the outer shell of them's fiberglass. But in the Monarch, can be switched from vertical or horizontal depending on the game that's been installed in it. But yeah, that shit was awesome. In America, every fucking console, every cab. I'm not looking at the word. You can't really say candy cab. The upright, whatever the
arcade machines. Yeah, I
all had unique designs and shapes and colors and look crazy, and that's how American arcades were. But I can remember going into the Japanese ones, just where everything was uniform and they all, there's just a difference.
To be honest, it never really was about the type of arcade, box, whatever, upright. To me, it's just about the game. The only game that I thought was really cool that it was of course it's a driving game. It's Chase HQ. It's one of my favorite arcade games. But what I loved about it was the fact that the lights on the top, they were red and blue like the cops. When you were chasing the bad guy, the whole thing would flash like it felt like you were a cop. Because you'd see the flashing lights and you knew you were driving, going after the bad guy. I don't know. It's just something about it. When, as a kid, I mean, today it's like whatever. But, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, this is so cool. And I'm driving and I, felt like I was in the cop. They put the little bubble gum machine together. It's like, hit him again. I like that. I like that back in the day. I think that was the point of them. Also, I remember Outrun. Outrun was real. I'm talking about the one where you sit in. That was so cool at the time. I mean, today they're all like that, but yeah, I'm talking about in the '80s, when I was young, and yeah, I'm showing my age here. But it's. I think that's a lot of reason. Like in America, I think it was more about catching people's eye and getting people to stand around it more than Japan. Japan seems to have embraced the gaming culture a lot quicker.
Long after arcades came out in the U.S., they were still thriving in Japan. They've basically died out in Japan too. I mean, they're still there, but just a handful. They used to be one on every corner, or at least one in every big building had like an arcade in it somewhere. And not now. Now, just each city there might be one place where there's one arcade that has machines and stuff, but it's not like it was back in the day.
Well, the consoles and the PC have caught up and surpassed it in so many ways.
In America, it started pretty early too. I mean, literally, I think the Super Nintendo and to some extent the Genesis, where they really did get pretty damn close to arcade quality games, and it was like, why am I going to go to the arcade? I'll just play it on my home system.
Yeah, and then the PlayStation had Namco did System 11 board. The System 12 board was the upgrade to that, and it was very close. And then when the PS2 came out, that's really when it started to dip.
I've got the PS1 Namco joystick with for fighting games, a 6-button.
Oh yeah,
that classic one. It's like a dark, black. It's not really black. It's more of a dark gray, but I guess whatever color you want to look at it as. But it works actually on the PS1, 2, and 3. But it's one of my all-time favorite
arcade sticks.
Yeah, maybe other than the Sega Virtua Stick for the Saturn, which I have, and they also works with the Dreamcast. But I've got that one too. But I just love that Namco one. It's a little bit smaller, but the buttons and the ball top and all that, and the The game, everything in it was like arcade quality at the time that Namco put that thing out, and for a home system that was like unheard of. And yeah, shit like that's cool. They do that now, and it's $350. But back then, I think even new that thing was only selling for like $60.
I kind of wish I picked up more back then. I wasn't so into arcade sticks when I was younger. I was happy with the control pads. There's a few exceptions
too, but I just started collecting those sticks. And
now they're like
more, but you can't get more to get some of the old classic ones that are too. People want too much money for them.
I know.
And the new ones are great too, but they're overpriced. And what really spoiled me was I bought one that works for the PS4 and the Xbox One. And actually, it works for the 360 and the PS3 too. And it's that what's the brand? Hold on, I've got it right here set beside of me. Mayflash.
Okay.
Put it out. I've got one of theirs, and they've had like 2 or 3 models come out since the one I bought. That's even better. I've got the F300, but it's pretty fucking sweet. And once I got it, and I got it for so cheap. I just like, am I really going to go spend $180 when I've spent like $70 bucks?
Yeah.
And I could have put the high end buttons and stick in it, but no, the ones that are in it are actually the Chinese knockoff parts are damn near as good as the.
Honestly, it's what works for you. You don't have anything to prove. I mean, not you, but just in general. That's my advice to people. You don't have anything to prove. If you're happy with a arcade stick, regardless of the brand, if it works for you and you can kick ass with it, go for it. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
I've got 4 Saturn sticks. I got the Virtua Stick. I got another one that's actually by Sega. I don't know the name. I'm looking at it, but I can't. It's like it's at the bottom of a little stand. But I've got a TurboGrafx / PC Engine stick. I mean, that it's amazing. I've got an NES stick. I don't have a Super Nintendo stick. I used to have one.
I have one of those. Yeah,
it died on me, and I never replaced it. I need one. All I've got's the NES one.
I have the Super Advantage. That's what I have.
Yeah, that's the one I want to get. I need to get that one. And same thing for that PlayStation one that Namco put out. I got it. I just never felt the need to buy another one because that lasted all the way to the fucking PS4 come out, and then they changed the damn connector and it wouldn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty shitty. They should have still had that original, so you can still use some of the original stuff. And I get it. Using USB or whatever that top plug is on the controllers now.
Yeah, USB.
Yeah, that was fine, but you still could have still had at least one.
Well, yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because when the PS3 came out, the PS3 they came out with a few. This is back when they had the 60 and the 20 gig versions. When it was fully backward compatible with the PS2.
Yeah, I've still got one of those.
Yep. So one of the accessories they came out with, which I picked up on the cheap, was the memory card reader, USB.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't tried on the PS5, but on the PS4, you can still transfer your stuff. I think it even works on PC. So if you find one of those, you have a good way of backing up your little memory cards without having to really get another memory card. Just a little tip there. I haven't tried it, like I said, on the PS5. There's no point. I don't have any PS2 games that I don't do the PS Now or any of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it worked on at least the PS4 read it. I can't say I transferred anything because there's no point. But on the PS3, on all PS3s, even the new ones, you absolutely can use it.
I have a PS2 with a dead laser in it that I made up my mind long ago. I'm not putting another laser in it. I've got a hard drive for it, and that hard drive connector kit part of it, where I can put a modern day hard drive in it full of PS2 games. But I'm just too lazy to even do that. I'm not downloading a bunch of games and all that. I'm just waiting till I find one online at a reasonable price. You don't even have to have every PS2 game, which I don't know. I might have to have 2 hard drives to fit all that. This was a lot of PS2.
Yeah, there were a lot. Yeah, and they were
As long as I got a
DVD.
reasonable amount, I'm happy, and then I'll buy that, and then and mine's all set up and ready to go. I've got the McBoot thing and all that. Everything's ready for it. I just don't have the games on a hard drive to put in it. So,
you could probably fit it all on one, but you'll have to do a couple of terabytes. And that's assuming that the PS2 can read terabytes.
Maybe more, maybe 4 terabytes. What I was thinking I'd need.
Yeah, because each game is 1 to 4 gigabytes each. So yeah, you're right. A couple were CD, on CDs, but very few.
But
DVD.
I mean, and I know now they're selling stuff for the PS1 like that, where you can. And I don't want that. I've got a couple of different modded PS1s that'll play all the games, and I'm fine with that. I've already ordered long ago multiple PS1 lasers. In fact, I've got 3 still in the box, sitting on a shelf. PS1 lasers, because they're not the.
Yeah, I know they're not the greatest.
Yeah, but if the right product comes where I can use an SD card, and I don't got to do any soldering or anything like that, and I can hook something to my PS1, I'm in. I'll buy it, and then so I can have all the PS. But now that they've got the minis, you don't need that shit anymore. I've got for my PS1 class, I ordered right from Amazon those thumb drives with a shit ton of games already on them. I ordered, I think you had 5 or 6 of them you could buy, and I think I got 3 of them. So each one 100, 150 games or something. So I'll probably have 300, 400 games. That's plenty for the PS1.
That's more than enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's be honest. All those, you're lucky if you got 30 must-have games on any system. That's pushing it to say, that system's got that many. And there was some, like the Super Nintendo had that many. I guess the NES did too, but I'm not too high on 8-bit. But
I would say it did. I mean, I own it, so I have plenty of them.
I've always had that, for whatever reason, for a system to be a must-have. It had to, at some point in its lifetime, hit that. There's at least 30 games that I've got to have for it. Not 1 or 2, but I like to have about 30 great games, and they mostly have had every generation that on. No, not mostly. They have the PS1, 2, 3, and 4. They've each had over 30 games that were, but what, 2,000 and something games available for each of those systems, and
you're gonna get a lot of junk. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But what cracks me up? It's like when everyone says, and I'm gonna pick on Steam here. Now, I'm only picking on Steam because I'm gonna avoid the obvious ones, the consoles here. But everyone's like, well, Steam has a lot of junk on it. It's just hard to find anything. Not really. There's a ton of great stuff. You just got to know what to look for and pay attention to the reviews. To me, it's like Horus. Like, people will just forget about it. But I took a chance on it, and I found it because I'm interested in that stuff. And honestly, I wasn't even really looking for it, and I found it. And it's not that hard. I mean, because I think it's on Steam as well if you don't have a Switch. But, it's like, just, you got to understand that, when something's popular, you're going to have a lot of junk. And it is sometimes hard to weed out the good stuff. But it's, in my opinion, and again, you can crap on me all you want, I don't think it's that hard. If you really want to find something good, you'll find it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because they all of them, across the board, whether it's a Switch, Steam, Xbox, they all have a search. If you know the title, or if you have an idea of a title, even a Boolean search, you'll find it.
Oh, you've told me several times as far as like the old school shooter spaceship shooter games. They're all on the Switch.
And they're still releasing them.
But I haven't wanted to look because I don't got money to go buy, and I'd have to have them all. I'm compulsive about that kind of thing. I was just looking the other day. Is that the new R-Type?
Yep. R-Type Final 2. Yep.
Final 2. That's what that was it. But that's supposed to come out on the Xbox. So
Yeah,
I've been
it is.
looking and waiting for it. But there's so many more that my God, they're all on the Switch. And
I think it's going to be out in May.
Why doesn't Microsoft call those companies up and say, "Hey, we want this on our box"? It just unless I think Microsoft thinks companies just have to come to them, and I don't get it. It's like, no, you running this console, sometimes you got to go to people and get that shit. And
yeah, I think one of the best things Nintendo did is they opened themselves wide open to all indies. I know they get a lot of flack for that, but I don't agree with it. I think that was a brilliant move, and Sony Sony did it too.
Yeah.
And it shows. And there's a lot of stuff, like I said, like the shooters, that they're amazing. I mean, they're also on the PS4, 5 now too. And you're right, the Xbox kind of got the shaft with not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah, they got some, but they didn't get nearly the amount that the PlayStation and the Switch did. And it's sad. It's only because Microsoft just doesn't reach out to those kind of companies and say, "Hey, we want that on our system." I don't know how they expect to, or maybe they just don't care because they know those games don't sell that many copies. And it's like, no, you do that for fan service, for Christ's sake. If you sell 10 copies, great. Don't worry about it. You made some people happy. You need to do that.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Microsoft's just never been good about understanding that certain things just need to be on there. They kind of got it. I mean, they're like, well, they knew they had to get some Japanese games, but they only go for the big ones. They went to Final Fantasy. That was like 300 Final Fantasy games on Xbox. Woohoo! Whatever. They finally got the Yakuzas, and they got all of them. Well, great. They needed that, but why did it take years of people crying and stuff? Those games were never exclusive to the PlayStation. They just were only released on PlayStation, but they were available. Microsoft could have but they didn't want to pay any money. They didn't. I don't get it. I've never got it or understood it, but maybe they're getting it a little bit. They're finally, and they're not just getting those games free. People need to understand. You better buy these games because Microsoft had to pay for them, and they don't like doing that. They want games to be, hey, please put our game on your system. And they send it to it, and Microsoft puts it through its checks or whatever. It all gets approved, then it gets put on the system. And then the company, Microsoft gets its cut, and then the other company gets whatever. But some games, they just don't send to Microsoft, and they don't give a fuck. So Microsoft don't give a fuck, and they don't try to get them. They don't want to have to pay. And it's like, well, maybe you should just to get it on your platform. And if it sells enough, maybe the next time that company will just automatically submit that game to get on your system. And but whatever, I'm just talking to the wall on that. Microsoft does what Microsoft does, and you think because of Game Pass, for God's sake, they'd be going after everybody. They don't got to buy those companies. They just need to say, "Hey, we want your game for Game Pass. What's it going to cost us?" And get them all. But I guess if the game really isn't that good and they're asking too much money, that might be the problem. I'm not there. I don't know what some of those smaller Japanese devs want for certain games. And some of them are exclusive without being exclusive. They have backroom deals with Sony, and neither company admits it, but it's true. They're like, Sony's like, do not put that on it. You want to keep putting games on our system, then don't let your game go to Microsoft. And those deals
I know it.
That stuff does go on. Barroom deals, they call it, where they just, it's, you don't want to piss somebody off because they are vindictive as hell about stuff like that. If they feel like you've slighted them. And some of those small to medium-sized Japanese devs, they can't afford to piss Sony off because that's where they've always sold their games, and they know how much they're going to make. And they know, that Sony will promote them to a certain extent, and they don't worry about it being on Xbox. The bigger ones, they put their games on Xbox, and even the big ones sometimes with old games for God, Square Enix, what the fuck? They just, they got a dartboard, and they 1 out of 10 games will let go to Xbox. Come on.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to hear on Final Fantasy. the follow-up Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah.
Where's part two, and what's the plan? Because it's only exclusive for a year. Well, we're approaching that year, and silence.
Well, did they say a year?
Yeah, it's
Everybody
actually in the
said a year, but
box.
did Square say it?
It's actually on the box. It's actually on the box. It says exclusive for 1 year.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's in writing, but what that means, or whether they'll release it to everything in a year.
Did it sell enough on Sony for them to make people wait for part 2 a year?
I think it did. It's easy to look up. Let me
I
see.
don't think it did. I don't think it sold that well at all, to be honest.
Well, let's find out.
On what they were expecting anyway. It certainly didn't hit no 8 or 10 million mark like they thought it was going to. I'm thinking 4 million is what it sold, but I'm guessing.
Where are we? Unreal Engine 4, yeah, we know that. I want to see sales.
The number I always see combines the old sales from the original Final Fantasy VII, and it's some astronomical number, and I'm like, no, it didn't sell that. They added the new ones in with the old one. And the old one's out on everything. I mean, I've got the old one on my Xbox. And it actually looks and plays pretty decent for, I guess you can't call that back compat, right? Because it was I don't know what you call that. It's an old game being released, but it was from a different system. But,
I know it's called. It's
same thing.
Like a remaster or something.
Yeah. It's not really remastered or redone it. I mean, it looks just like a PlayStation 1 era game looks. But it's
well, it sold at least 5 million, but I don't exactly have I'm looking for the numbers now.
That's probably right. The last thing I think I'd ever heard was 4 million, and now it's probably been months ago.
Yeah, I know it broke 5 million. That's all over the internet, but I don't. I mean, I'm just doing it quick and dirty. I'm not doing anything deep, searching. But 5 million sounds about right. But that's still pretty reputable. I mean, that's not a bad amount.
8 to 9 million total if they would have released it on the Xbox at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow, you're just not going to get that by making people wait a year. Now you might get 1 million on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at total sales 6 million. Well, how much did Sony pay? I just don't know if they pay them enough. Maybe they do, but it didn't seem like it makes sense to me. But I guess it does because Sony's always dropping that black bag off to get something or another, exclusive. Which I really hate that. I wish they would stop it, but
yeah, they all do that, unfortunately.
Everybody but Xbox, they'll just buy the fucking
buy the company.
But they won't just buy a game anymore because Phil don't want to hold content off another console. Which
for a while, it looks like they were going to do that, but then they canceled a lot of their stuff. I'm still hurting from Scalebound. I'm kind of bitter at that still, but oh well. That's the exclusive. Well, what's supposed to be exclusive to Xbox.
Yeah, but that was,
I'm just kidding. That's just an example. I mean, but still, that's.
They still do that. I mean, even the Medium it's a second party game. You go to a game dev, okay. Second party games, or when you go to somebody, basically a third party company, but it's called a second party game.
Right.
But you go, hey, here's X amount of money, make this game exclusive for us. Like they did their deals with Remedy, and they got some good games. But that was Xbox's bread and butter, and it eventually bit them in the ass. So now they don't do that, but they still kind of do it. I mean, Medium, that's Bloober Team, Microsoft. Yeah. I don't know how much money. Well, no, that still might show up on PlayStation. They're just doing better about not letting it out there that it's going to be a multi-plat. But I don't know. Did the other Bloober Team games go as I don't think Blair Witch is on Sony yet, is it? But isn't the other one we talked about earlier? I think that's on the PlayStation.
Which one was it?
Yeah, I've already forgot. It's a horror game. but it whatever. But I think it is on
Yeah, I think that one was. If I think God, I can't remember it either. But yeah, I think that one is. I know Blair Witch is. But Blair Witch is, like you said. I mean, I shouldn't judge it. I haven't really played it, but from everything I've heard,
I played it and I actually liked it, but I knew what it was, and it's a reach to even call it a AA game, to be honest. But for what it was, I liked it. It was all right, but
let's see. Oh well, I can't get the exact numbers, but that's something for later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, we haven't heard
5 million is probably enough for them to keep Part 2 off Xbox for a year.
We'll see. I know people were like, "Oh, this is going to wait till all the parts are released." I'm like, "You'll be waiting a while."
They're not going to do that. I think you'll see sometime this year.
I'll be honest.
Final Fantasy 7 announced for the Xbox, and then it dropped by the end of the year.
Sure, but here's and probably around what would be E3, I think. That's what
it's going to get announced and it'll drop.
Yeah. But this is what people don't quite get. Final Fantasy, the remake, that's only part 1, was 2 discs. It's like 90 gigabytes on the PS4. Think about that one for a second.
Yeah.
That's a PS4. That's not even with the new generation stuff. So, yeah, maybe they can probably squeeze. I mean, to be honest, with textures being what they are and Unreal being what it is, they could probably, just bump that up till maybe 100, 110 gigabytes and still get, all the improvements. But that's just the first part. People, if you want to get the whole trilogy, you're looking at like a 6-disc or 7-disc, installation here.
I actually hope they don't do a physical release on the Xbox for those. I'm like, just sell the damn thing digitally. You don't need to be on disc. You're busting it up and selling it in parts anyway, so just make it all digital.
I'm just saying, for those people who, really, really want to get it, not piecemeal, but all together as a group.
You can always go to that, what is it, limited run games, and then let them put it out on a special edition disc version for people that really just got to have the disc.
Yeah, that works.
The whole game's not going to be on the disc anyway. They never are.
I like that's true. There's always something missing, whether it's a patch, a DLC. I mean, one thing I do like about limited run though lately is they kind of changed their sales model, or the business model rather, where now there's a pre-order window. So you have like 4 weeks. You can order as many as you want or whatever you want, and you don't lose out. You don't miss out on. For the most part.
Mr. Kima, our only listener tonight in our chat, Layers of Fear was that game we couldn't think of.
Thank you. Okay, Layers of Fear.
I just had to look up and see that. Thank you, Mr. Kima.
Yes,
and thanks for being our one viewer right now. Cool. You the man. We've had the last few shows because we've been so irregular at broadcasting. Wow, we ain't been. I looked tonight after you emailed me when we're going to do the show, and some pretty bad numbers. You have to go back. Oh my God, like a month and a half ago, we did one where we had like 154 views or something like that, which is not bad for what we do.
No,
I was like, that was great. And then but the last 2 shows, it's been pretty bad. And I think this will be the same. We'll probably get about 20, 25 views. But
admittedly, we do run long too. I mean,
not only that, I think we need to be getting off here. We're already at that hour and a half point, and I don't really want to go to full 2 hours tonight. My son, he's got to work tomorrow, and he's in, and he's not eating anything yet. So I don't, either we got to listen to him cook, or I need to get off here. But
cooking with
that's why I got a brother who came in the door, and I needed to talk to him about something. So that remember when I kind of left you hanging there for a few minutes?
No, that's fine. I was rambling on about my games, so that's good.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll try to be more regular, but you know what? I don't think it matters that we do or not one way or the other. I'm not trying to be some giant YouTuber. I don't want to ever get to the point where I'm monetized anyway. I don't want no tax issues.
Sure.
I don't have to file anything extra with my income tax because I'm making a little bit of money on YouTube. I don't do it for that. I do it to talk gaming, and that's great. And we are very similar as far as we're semi-close in age and semi-close in stuff we like, and so that's cool. So
yeah, just different enough we could bounce it off each other, so it works.
Yeah.
Symmetry.
Oh yeah, and it's a joy. I'm about to go back. I think Mads is going to restart his show again because he's not been doing it. He tried to expand it and got a whole bunch of other dudes and was going to try to do like Mr. Boomstick does, 3 or 4 shows a week, and it got too much for him. He just stopped doing them all together. I think he's going to come back and we're going to do 1 show a week. So sometime in February, that's going to, it'll probably be an afternoon show again because that's his early evening over there after he gets off work. And he's not going to do one on the weekend. That's why I don't ever ask him to come on the show with us because he works all week and in the weekend he spends with his family. And
makes sense.
Yeah, and so I don't even bug him with it to get him on here. Yeah, so anyway, it'll be me, him, and Jamie Moran, and there's probably another 5 or 6 guys. I think they're all in Europe. Well, Mav Gaming's one of them, so he's not in Europe. He's in the U.S., but he may be part of it too. I don't know. He caught the tail end of our shows on that Next Gen podcast. He was on a couple of them, and So Shady was also on a few of them there towards the end. So he may be back too. I don't know. That's all up to Mads. I just told him if he wants to do another show, I'm down for it. I like talking games and I like talking with him. That's how that whole thing started. Where I was just privately DMing Mads about stuff and talking to him, and we ended up talking. And then he was like, hey, I'm gonna do a podcast. You want to be on it? I'm like, hell yeah. And then so we did it for a little over a year, and we got some pretty decent numbers. I've seen some podcasts by the end of the week or before the next show. The previous show would hit about around 1,000 views. So that wasn't bad. That was pretty good.
It is.
Towards the end there, we started. You didn't know who was going to be there on any given show, and some shows wasn't going, and it got if you're not consistent and regular, you're not going to get numbers and things like that. And that's not what I do this with you. I just like talking games with you.
Oh yeah. Sam.
I had a couple other guys lined up, and then they just, for whatever reason, couldn't do it. And they're every once in a while they tell me, "Yeah, I want to start doing it," but then they never do. So it's like, okay, well, I've got Gaming Werewolf.
Yeah, that it reminds me too. I got an email, a gentleman. He wanted me to write some reviews, and I really wanted to do it. My life got in the way, and I feel so bad.
Yeah, there's been some weeks I just couldn't do it. I had a couple times it was health issues. Last week it was my internet was fucked up. It was something was wrong with my router. I don't know what. It was so weird because my Xbox worked, showed me on the internet working. I mean, it even showed me wired connection and how much my up and down was. A little box my cable company gave me that's just got streaming apps on it, even though my TV has streaming apps and all my DVD players and Blu-ray players have this apps on them. But this little box the cable company gave me it's hooked up to the TV in the living room and it worked. But my phone would not connect to my local network thing, and my Surface Pro that I do the show on, it would not connect. Couldn't get on the internet from it. It was the damnedest thing. And my son's computer was working. So like I said, some things was working and some things wasn't. It's like, that makes no sense. If you're on the internet, you're on. Everything should have worked, or nothing should work. But half her devices, my Alexa wouldn't work. She just kept saying that there was something wrong with my internet connection. But yeah, it was weird. But now, like I said, he went on his computer and had to somehow do something with our router and reconnect to it and put in a new something new. I don't know, because I had to like relog on to everything, and after doing that, now everything's back to normal. I got to find out exactly what he did, because come that day where I might have to do something like that. And yeah, I hate that crap. This is the greatest thing about having children when they get old enough to take care of your internet shit for you.
Well, I'm kind of out of luck there. So.
Mine are both grown. It's great. Like, hey, get the internet working. Fuck.
Nah, yeah, I have to. When my internet goes down, either it's the cable company or I'm on my own. So.
Well, it was that way for me for a lot of years, and then, but now I had my sons take care of it for years, or the last few years anyway. Although I get everything set up. Anyway, let's get off here, man. We'll do it hopefully again next week, and we'll get more regular about it.
Yeah, definitely. Good talking to you always.
Yeah,
great,
I always enjoy it. I could easily went another hour, but I think we should get off. It's been an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, we gotta save stuff for next week.
It's been 2 hours. We started at 7:30.
That's right. It has been.
Never mind. Yeah, it's been 2. Yeah, let's definitely get off right now and not go over 2 hours.
Yeah,
we've had some 3.5-hour shows. Yeah, people
hey,
don't stay on that long.
Yeah, but well, great. Well,
all right. Thanks to Mr. Kima. He's gone now, by the way, but it says 0 for viewers. But he was on there for a while, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and like I said, we'll probably get about 25 views by this time next week when we do the next show. So it's something. And if we start hitting regular, we'll start getting 100, 150 views, that'd be awesome. But yeah. If we pick up a little traction, we'll start inviting more people and kind of expand the show some, but we'll see how it goes. I don't want to say we're going to do something and not do it. For right now, I'm just happy it's me and you. It's fun to just talk about games.
Oh, yeah. And there's always something to talk about or, do.
Tons of topics we didn't even come close
to
scratching the surface, so there's always plenty more. All right, man. Good talk.
Yep.
We'll do it again next week.
Absolutely. And if you want, you can find me on Twitter at Grey, that's Grey, WolfGamer1. And you can message me, talk to me, do whatever you want. Friend me. Just don't send me hate mail. But if you do, I love you anyway.
Mine's Mojo_Blues1. I probably have a couple thousand people that follow me on Twitter, and half of them are movie people, but I can't get any of the movie people come listen to our podcast. I don't get it. I tweet out, and I know they're getting those tweets, but they don't show up on here ever.
They probably hear, like, we always start with gaming, and they're like, and then move on. But yeah, we talk about movies too. I mean,
I don't want to specifically go to people and say and beg them to come watch the show, and a lot of them always claim that they're both into gaming and movies, but I think they're really just movie guys.
I'll be fair.
And watch the show.
I'll be fair. Just like the gentleman you spoke about earlier, a lot of them are probably busy on Saturday night. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but
yeah, especially some of these hardcore movie guys. They get into groups where they tweet about the movie while they're all watching it.
Yeah, like a watch party.
I'm in a bunch of those, and I tend to like just tweet about it, and because I've already seen the movie and. I like it because when I'm watching a movie, I can't be tweeting. I'm just not smart enough to do that. I miss big chunks of the movie if I'm playing on my phone. So when I start watching something, I set the phone down. I'm just not that guy that can do it all. So,
well, I wouldn't put it like that. I would put it more like you just want to get enraptured and engrossed in the movie. You want to take it all in, and focus.
Stuff, I'll have the TV on, but I'm not paying attention to it, and I'll be on my phone. Or I even sometimes while I'm playing a game, I've got the other TV in the living room, which is real close by. I've got a movie we'll be playing in there, and I'll be in here playing the game. And sometimes I'll just pause it and I'll go sit down in there and watch a little bit, and just weird stuff like that. And sometimes I'll be messing around cooking in the kitchen, and I might have YouTube videos playing and a movie or TV show playing in the living room. I can actually, from my kitchen area, I can see both sets. It's weird. I do shit like that all the time. But if I'm really watching something and paying attention to it, I like to just be doing that. like when we're doing this show, I couldn't be playing a game and talking to you. Just one thing at a time. Anyway, it's time to get off here. I'm going to hit that end broadcast button. So hold on. 3, 2.